TOA community. Welcome back, everybody. Robert Linkle with trainingtheolderadult.com. I want to talk to you about, I want to ask you a question. Here's my question. If I could tell you exactly how old you were going to be when you died and how you were going to die, would that change the way that you live your life currently? Okay? And so think about that. And if you can answer that question as in, well, yeah, of course I would, then I think that the things that I want to show you here really quick will really have a good effect. And if you say, well, no, then I still think hearing all of this will have some kind of lasting effect. And so my intention here is not to be some mystical, Zoltar and tell you something special about your future, but to get you to think about things a little bit differently, okay? This comes down to longevity and how we're living the quality of our life as we age, not necessarily just living longer. So we'll come back to this chart here in a second, okay? So think about this. The average person starts, high school at 14 and graduates at 18, and then they do at least 2 years of college or specialty school, something that's additional education outside of high school, okay? That's the average individual. Some go on and get bachelor's degrees. I think it was like 68% or something like that. Don't quote my numbers. I was looking at all kinds of other stuff this morning. I was just kind of trying to get the basics of this. And so on average, somewhere with education beyond high school, you're looking at 2 all the way up to like 12 years, if not more, doctors, lawyers, et cetera, that spend lots of that. And then also continued education as your career goes on. My point being is we spend a lot of time, especially by the age 25, probably half your life, if not more, educating yourself on a career choice that you're now going to put into action, okay? 23, 24, 25 years old, we start to work. And we work for, on average, this is Americans anyway, for 40 years. The average American retires at age 61, okay? So for 40 years, you've been working as an accountant or whatever the job is. You love numbers and this is so much fun and you're totally into it. And you're saving money and you're investing for your future. And you're like, one of these days we're going to retire and I'm going to have all these golden years to be able to go travel and visit family and go do all these great things. Okay. And so you take some trips and you take some vacations here and there, but the whole intention is let's get to retirement, save money. We're going to do this. Okay. So 61 years old, retirement comes up and now what? Okay. Now what? Well, now it's time to cruise. It's time to enjoy. We're going to do this. On the other end of things, the average American dies at age 73, almost 74, okay? So if you kind of look at that timeline, if you retire at 61 and then you're going to die at 74, what do we have? We have 13 years, okay, that you can look at and go, all right, I've got 13 years of retirement. But I'm a strong, healthy individual. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to live longer than 74 years old. So let's take a look at that. What are people doing? And some charts here to talk about males and females and averages and such. I wanted to show you all this, okay? Let's kind of take a look at this a little bit and talk about life expectancy and during that 13-year period, how good a quality of life do we have? How active are we being? And at some point, are we going to end up in a bed rest, right? At some point, we're going to get to a point where it's like we're still alive, but we don't have a super high quality of life because we're literally bedridden, right? So number one, on average, through those 13 years, people will take 2 life-altering, life-remembering vacations. 10-day cruise to Greece and to Europe, 2-week vacation to India, like whatever. They do 2 trips. So every 4 years, okay, 5 years, they take a trip. And during that time, we looked at activity levels. Let me go to this one here and show you activity levels. They did some studies on how active people were the year before they retired and the year after, okay? They had 520, where are my numbers at? There were 500 and something folks in this study. On average, the ladies were doing this amount, men were doing that. The findings were, here we go, physical activities. The findings were that women decreased their activity by 3%, I think is what it came out to. Let me find that. And men increased by 3.9 or 3.1%. So basically on average, if the women decreased by 3 and the men increased by 3, the average, everybody basically just kind of stayed the same. For as people as active as they were when they were working, as soon as they retired, you would think, oh, I've got all this extra time, I've got this free time, I'm going to go on more trips, I'm going to do more. Well, more based on these little, and they're small studies, 500-600 people, but based on that, well, they didn't really do a whole lot more. They didn't really change. Okay. So you're doing, if you were already living kind of a sedentary, unactive life, that stayed the same. If you were living an active life, you didn't increase it, that stayed the same. However, life and our body and our metabolism and everything else, gravity is just constantly working on us. So we're on this natural aging decline. And if we don't increase activity, quality of life, cognitive function, if we don't challenge and develop all that, we're going to lose it, right? So you've got a 13-year window here where people, oh, I'm going to live way longer. Let's look at averages here, and you're not, okay? You've got a 13-year window where you're going to take 2 trips. Your activity level has not increased. It's actually stayed the same, okay? So across the board here, we've got 13-ish years where you feel like you're going to maximize your potential. But here's the other part of it, and this is where I had my articles out of order here a little bit. They looked at the quality of life for folks towards the end of their lives and found that average individuals, right before they died, for 6 months to about 2 years, they were then bedridden or so ill that the quality of life was very, very poor. Okay. Now that was an average across all the U.S. population. So if you look at that now, we're from 13 years, we're down to 11 and a half, maybe 11 years of high quality work, 40 years of education, hard work, commitment, retirement, all of these great efforts to get to retirement. We're maybe looking at 13 years, but probably more like 11, maybe a little bit less, right? Where things are really, really good. I can maximize my potential, but are we actually doing that? We're not. Everything's kind of staying the same activity-wise. As far as overall output, maybe you're not going to work anymore and you're replacing it with some other kind of effort, but it's basically the same. So what was the point of working so hard to get to retirement? If you're only going to take 2 trips, you're not going to increase any kind of activity or do anything different. In 10 years from now, your quality of life is going to be so poor that you're going to spend anywhere from 6 months to 2 years near bedridden or bedridden and then die. And so if we look at those statistics across the board, those averages, right? Go back down to my chart here. We look at those averages, that's what this chart is about. The average individual lives life, they don't exercise, they don't eat well, they don't make any efforts to improve their quality of life. And so they're the black line. They're born, and as life goes on, right at 73, 74, black line ends, they're done. The next individual does the exact same lifestyle. But right at the end, right when they're like 68, 69, they have some kind of medical intervention, a pacemaker, a surgery, a medication, something that prolongs life, okay? But their quality of life is really poor. They're either near bedridden or bedridden, and they just can't do a whole lot, or cognitive function's so low, they're not recognizing people, not able to do and engage and enjoy these golden years that they wanted to have. So now you might live 3, 4, 5 more years, but the quality is so low, right? And then you got to think about the other individuals, which we personally have some experiences with, unfortunately, where, in bed and or near bedridden individuals, they're not happy, they're not comfortable. It's rather miserable for them. And unfortunately, we, the ones left behind here after this individual passes, these are the images, these are the thoughts that we are now most commonly reflecting on with them, because they're the last ones and the most, time sensitive to us. It's hard for us to go beyond that and think of all the really good times when they were high energy and, in their prime, when we just spent 1.5 to 2 years with someone that's just poor quality of life, just miserable. And you may even sit with this individual and watch them fade away and pass. And so those are the lasting memories of this smaller window. Though increase the number, what was the quality? And then the red line is the individual that eats well, that sleeps well, that recovers, that exercises, that resistance trains, that has social engagements, that goes on trips often and experiences life, and is smart with their money, but also knows, hey, I gotta save for the future, but I also have to live for the now, that I'm not guaranteed tomorrow, that I'm not guaranteed anything. I need to enjoy this present day. I need to look people in the eye when I talk to them. I need to hug people like it might be the last time I ever hug them. I need to engage with people and let them know I've got 100% of your attention. I'm listening to what you're saying. The quality of what our relationship is, the quality of the energy that we put out is high. And because you do all of those things, your abilities, your quality of life, your longevity, all of that, okay, it stays fairly high beyond 74 years, up to 80, 82, 83 years, and then you die within 3 months to 6 months, if that. The window for poor quality of life is so short because you lived at such a good high quality that when it was time, we call it going out with our boots on, there's a really small poor quality of life window at the end, if not at all. You know, you're skydiving, heart stops, it's over with. You go out with a smile on your face. One of my goals, right? So you think about this. Those with, I have another chart I wanted to put up for you, but I forgot to put it in here. But those with high cholesterol, they have a 30% increase on their overall all-cause mortality, right? And those that smoke have a 50% increase in their all-cause mortality, early death, basically, if you will. So high cholesterol, 30%, smoking, 50%. If you are weak, if you have sarcopenia, if you just have weak musculature, you don't resistance train, and we're talking about like 2 days a week for 20 minutes, like just basic bare minimum strength development, you have a 250% increase in all-cause mortality. So simply by not introducing resistance training into your life, you can reduce your potential opportunities to live beyond that 74 years by 250%. Like it's, and again, these are numbers and we're kind of throwing out averages here, but strength is such a key component to this. And then on top of that, having a high VO2 max, having a capacity to challenge your cardiovascular system and train in that and maintain a healthy blood pressure and resting heart rate, etc. It's a 400% increase of all-cause mortality if you don't do that. So that's where a true strength and conditioning program twice a week, 20 to 40 minutes, can do such massive benefits to your body, to your future, to your quality of life as we go. It's something so simple, so trivial, so basic that you can implement out of your 168 hours, 2 hours out of that week, 166 other hours. Do whatever you like, enjoy, live well, love, educate, do whatever calls to you. Enjoy your retirement when you get there. The point is, though, I'll steal a line from Peter Attia since I'm using some of his charts here. If you want to be a stud at 80, it's got to start at 50. If you want to be a stud at 50, you've got to start at 20. This is a lifelong endeavor. This isn't some challenge or an event that you just decide, well, caused all here, if I'm going to start decreasing my opportunities to live at 60, at 50, I'll start getting in shape. It's got to start now. Whatever age you're at, it's never too late to start. If you're later in the game, probably need to be a little bit more aggressive in this, try to catch up, but do so smartly. We look at these averages, we look at these numbers. If I told you you're going to work as hard as you can, save and invest and put all this into your life for 40 years, and all you're going to get on the other end is 8 to 10 years of decent quality with 2 trips, you going to take that? Or maybe are you going to change some things in the way you're living? Maybe you're going to introduce a resistance training program. Maybe you're going to start to make time and connect with your family and know we're not guaranteed tomorrow, team. And if we do want this high quality of life, this high level of love and engagement and golden years that we're saving for, you've got to invest more than just your finances. You have to invest in your health, or else you're going to retire in your sickness. I'm Robert Linkle, trainingtheolderadult.com. If you have any comments or questions, hit me up down below. And if not, please continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. I will see you in the next one.